Today we're going to be talking about different types of coaching and why having quote unquote private coaching or one-on-one coaching isn't always the right answer, even if all of the coaches on Instagram seem to tell you it is. Stay tuned.
You're listening to the Wellness Simplified podcast. Simple wellness tips to help you improve your life without turning it upside down. With your host, award-winning fitness instructor, nutrition coach, and wellness expert, Susie Fevens.
Welcome back to the podcast. I am so delighted you're here. My name is Susie, like the lovely Mel said in my intro, and because we haven't given her a shout out for a while, let's just say thank you to Mel Sampson, who is one of our local radio DJs and a friend of mine who so kindly recorded my intro for me. Today we're going to be talking about coaching. This is something that I kind of went on a bit of a tangent about earlier this week on Instagram because I've sort of had my fill. I've had my fill of coaches, quote unquote coaches, who tell you that you need to invest in coaching in order to grow your business or to get healthy or whatever it is. My specific story is business related, but it applies to everything. And I thought it was really quite important that we stop today and we have a little chat about coaching, because coaching can take many different forms. And the coaching that they're always trying to sell you isn't always the best option, despite what those quote-unquote top coaches might say. So let's get into this, shall we? We're going to start off with a little bit of a personal story here, and this might have been the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. And then just recently I've been seeing more and more and more of these posts, and I just hit a breaking point and had to voice this. So for the previous, 3 or 4 years, I did work with a business coach. I didn't work one-on-one with them privately. I did work with them in a group setting. So there was times where I got to speak with them one-on-one through the group program, and had some private calls, but generally it was a group program. And that works really well for me because I'm a self-starter. I'm someone who, once I get an idea, I can run with it, and I don't need somebody like sitting there telling me what to do. I don't need to be accountable to someone, is what I'm saying, which is very good for my line of business because otherwise I would get nothing done. Anyway, so a group program works really well for me. I can get ideas, I get inspired, and I run with them. That's not for everybody, but it works really well for me. So over the years, they have changed their program a few times. And in 2021, it changed quite considerably in that my monthly membership was quite a bit lower than what it had been the previous year, like 20% of the fee that it had been the previous year. And understandably, the previous year I had invested quite a bit in this, and that was 2020. And a lot of the things that I had planned didn't come to fruition because everything was shut down. There was going to be in-person things and whatnot. But that's understandable. I do kind of think that it's interesting that that was sold as one of the selling features, and then they never mentioned it again, even though we could have done some sort of virtual summit. Anyway, that is a whole digression we won't get into. But in 2021, it was a much lower cost program, and there was still monthly calls that you could go on, and you still had access to different things and yada yada, and it was still worth the value for me. Coming towards the end of the year, this was a partner program, so it was the owners, there's 2 of them. So I was speaking to one of them on the phone, and they actually, you know what, let's back up for a microsecond. Let's just back this up a little bit. The main coach, the head of this business, had sent out an email saying that they were looking for a small number of people who they were working with already who were interested in piloting a test project for the month of November or December, whatever. And at that time, I was getting ready to launch Recharge and Resilient for real for the first time after talking about it for 2 years. And I thought, you know what, this might line up well. Depending on what she's doing, it could line up with the launch of that program. So I emailed them back and said that I'd be interested. And then I had a couple calls. And the first call was really helpful. It was an hour long, actually, and talked through a lot of stuff that wasn't specific to just the Recharge and Resilient program, but other things. And then at the end, and I knew there was going to be a pitch at the end. I knew there was going to be a pitch. There's always a pitch. And I said, you know what, like I got to think about this because it was a considerable investment. So I got off the phone and I'd set up a time to talk. Well, I guess maybe at the end of that conversation, there wasn't a pitch and it was just like, let's talk again in a week and see how things are going. So the second call was a 30-minute one, and that is where the pitch was. And it was for a program that was like 3 months and it was like $4,000 US. But don't worry, they had a payment plan, but the payment plan was still vastly out of my budget. It was, I want to say it was 700 and something a month for however many months it took to get to that 4,000 US. And I was like, you know what? I'm a people pleaser, so I couldn't just say no. Like, I really have to think about this. So I got off the phone, and that's when I remembered, oh, we're talking US dollars, not Canadian dollars. And it was already like, I would max out my credit card in the first month if I did it. But there is that whole aspect of if you're working with someone, you expect to then be bringing in more money and then be all worth the investment, yada yada. But as soon as I remembered the exchange rate, I was like, yeah, this is a hard pass for me. I cannot do it. So like I emailed them and said, you know what? I'm sure it is worth what you're charging. I have no doubt about that. It is not going to happen for me. And they're like, oh, but we really want to work with you and we could make a special deal or whatever. I'm like, no, it's not happening. Their special deal might be to lower it $100 or something. They're going to have to lower it like $700 for me to be able to invest in it. Anyway, so that was the end of the year. And then in January, out of the blue, I get a notification that my monthly membership subscription had been canceled. And now I don't recall when I signed up for the 2021 program that it was a 2021 program. I am under the impression that I signed up for a program that had no end date. And they just ended it, which is totally their prerogative. They have that ability to do. And perhaps I'm misremembering, and it was just for the year. But they canceled it, and they never even sent an email or a follow-up or say, it was great working with you the last year, yada, yada, yada. Like they just wrote me off entirely. However, I'm still on the email list. And I still think that they do give some good advice, but I kind of feel like they've gotten too big for their britches. But I keep getting all these emails and seeing posts from them where they're doing that same thing, where they're asking people like, how can I help you with this? Or how can I help you with that? But you know that at the end of that is a sales pitch, but they're like blanking it. They're covering it so that you don't know that it's a sales pitch until you're so far into it that you almost feel tricked into, it's not quite a bait and switch, but it's also not a bait and switch. So I'm a little bit tainted from that. So that's the first story that's taken us to 8 minutes, and I haven't even gotten to the meat and potatoes here. So now let's talk about coaches who tell you to go into debt to work with them. So this is the thing that really made me quite angry this week. I saw a number of coaches, quote unquote coaches, who I'm sure are extremely successful. But you know what? They they all were also privileged white women. I'm also a privileged white woman. Let me just say that, first of all, that they're all privileged white women who were encouraging people to max out a credit card, to go into $10,000 or more worth of debt in order to invest in coaching. There was one specifically I saw that how she had invested $10,000 that she did not have, and then within the first 40 or 60 days had made $17,000 back. That's great. That is her story. That is her circumstances. But to encourage people to take on that much debt to work with you is irresponsible. So this is where we're going to come into the stages of coaching. Number one, you are doing the first stage of coaching, which is absorbing information that is available for free in the universe via podcasts, blog posts, YouTube videos, books that you can borrow from the library, all of these things. This is a form of coaching. I am talking directly to you into your ear. It's not a two-way conversation, but you're still getting the benefit of my education, my knowledge, my life experience, my whatever. It's still a form of coaching. So when somebody is looking to learn something new, the first stage they can do is free stuff. There's lots of free stuff. And obviously not just from me. There's so much free stuff out in the world. I think that is your first level of coaching that everyone should start with before they invest in anything. If you can't get a taste of what that person's coaching is like before you invest any money at all, then walk away. Like, you don't know if they're a good fit or not. If you're listening to this podcast and you're sick to death of listening to me talk right now, I'm not going to be the right person for you. It's time for you to turn it off, delete, and walk away. But if you like my teaching style, the way I speak, my analogies, all that sort of stuff, then maybe we would be a good fit. But you wouldn't know that if I didn't have free content for you to consume prior to investing. So the free type of coaching, frankly, this is my favorite type of coaching when I'm consuming. And then we go to the second type of coaching, which is the lower cost, the lower investment group coaching. Now, this can be through an actual group coaching program. This could be you investing in a program that has a live aspect to it. So not to make this all about me and my business, but those are the easiest examples to use. If you were to purchase my Recharge and Resilient program, there is a built-in coaching. So as you complete each module, there are questions that are asked. When you answer those questions and hit submit, those get sent to me, and then I email you and we can chat back and forth about those. Another one would be, this is a good one. The difference between taking like a pre-recorded fitness class versus a live fitness class, right? A pre-recorded one, you're still getting the knowledge, the information from the trainer or from the instructor, but you can't ask them questions because they're not actually there. But during a live class, it might be the exact same class, but you'd be able to ask a question here or there before or after or even during. So that's going to be different. That's going to have a live component. So that is going to be your second option for coaching, is something that has a little bit of a live component that is a lower cost. So it's still manageable for most people, but it is still a step up from the free. You're getting a little bit more hands-on than you would for free. So that is level 2. Level 3, in my opinion, is where you get the one-on-one, where you're investing the larger sums of money to work directly with that person, just you and them. They get to get really down to the nitty-gritty about what's going on with you, what you need out of the coaching, and what they can offer out of the coaching is just the two of you. There is no outside input from other people. It is a two-way communication platform. That is one-on-one coaching. That is the highest level. So really, the question when it comes to coaching becomes this: do you have the time to invest in the free information that is out there to figure out what you want to do on your own? Or do you have the money, the funds available to invest in a one-on-one or even a group program that's going to let you jump over a lot of those first initial learning hurdles? You got to have time or you got to have money. If you don't have either, well, you're in a tight spot. But ideally you have one or the other. If you have the time and you have the money, then you can invest in the one-on-one coaching, and then you can catapult yourself faster in whatever it is you're working on. If you only have time, free is the way to go. If you have money but you don't have time, then you're going to want the one-on-one coaching. If you have a moderate amount of money, a moderate amount of time, then a group program might be a better option for you. But there is never an instance where one-on-one coaching is always the best option for somebody, because it is very privileged for someone to say that you can put this on a credit card, you'll earn the money back. Well, you don't know that. You don't know that. Ironically, this next statement is something that I got from my previous business coach, but a really good coach is going to give you the 5-minute version of an answer for free. And this is where I expand on it and say that a really good coach is going to give you the 5-minute version of an answer for free. In a group program, they're going to give you maybe the 20 or 25-minute answer. And in a private coaching, they're going to give you the 1-hour answer, right? So you're going to get the small little nuggets in this free information. You're going to get more information in a group program or a self-paced program with a live component, and you're going to get the most in one-on-one. But that doesn't mean it's always the right option. Doesn't mean it's always the right option. This is also why I always have free fitness classes available on demand. If you go to welluniversity.ca, there are free classes there that you can take anytime. All you need is an internet connection. It's very important to me that there is always some accessibility available. Then if you want to take some classes, you can pay to take a class here and there. And then if you want access to all the classes all the time, you can become a monthly member of my membership, and then you'll have access to all of the Zumba classes, all of the yoga classes, all of the body sculpt classes, everything. But that is someone who has already tested the waters, is familiar with me, familiar with my teaching style, and is ready to have that commitment. But if you're not there, there's free and there's single serve stuff. Conversely, here on the podcast, I share a lot of great tidbits. I mean, I think I do. And then I have my program that I talked about earlier, my Recharge and Resilient, which is a higher investment program. It is an 8-week program. It's $160. It's not cheap. I think it's an extremely important program that gives you a lot of information that you don't easily find on the internet without having to do a lot of searching through the muck of the internet. But it's there, and then you automatically get me as coaching. You can hire me as your personal coach. That is quite expensive, I'm not going to lie, but if you have the money and you want a direct answer for something or a direct solution, that's going to be your best bet. Now, this is where we have a fun little spin. If you're listening to this on the day or the week that it's released, it's coming out March 25th, on April 1st, I'm doing a 14-day program that is an Ayurvedic spring renewal, and I think this is really cool. It's going to $29. For $29, you're going to learn about all of the things you should do in the spring season to help support your body. Because think about how often in the spring we think about cleaning our house, cleaning up our yard, doing all the yard work, but nobody thinks about how they can best support their body through that transition from winter into spring, spring into summer. And there's some really simple and effective things that you can do. This is not a diet. It's not a workout program. Some Ayurvedic principles, as well as some general wellness stuff that will make a huge difference in how you feel and how you cope with that transition. Because, shifting from cold to warm is not that easy on our person. So I'd love to have you join me for that. It's $29. $29. So that's one of those small group investments. $29 for 14 days. You get information that you will have for a lifetime. And it's going to be really fun. And I think you're going to learn a lot. And you're going to be like, what? Why didn't I ever think of this? What? Why didn't I ever think of this? Because they're the things I think when I learned them. So if you'd like to learn more about that, just head over to welluniversity.ca, WELL university.ca. You can find all the info there. That's it. Coaching, free, small price tag, big price tag. You figure out what works for you. Don't let people pressure you into going into debt to get rich or to get healthy or to become a master calligrapher, because I'm doing my calligraphy training right now. Whatever it is, you don't need to go into mass of debt to achieve it. There's always a free option. There's always a low cost option. And then there's a more expensive option for those who have the resources for it. That's it for today's episode. I hope you found it useful. And maybe I'll see you over in the Ayurvedic Spring Renewal program. I think you will like it. Thanks for tuning in. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you, hear you, listen to you, talk to you. I'll talk to you next week.